extend you a very hearty welcome. Pleasure to have all of you this morning, afternoon, and evening. Whatever time zone you are in, enjoy yourself. Take care of your health, take care of your wellness, take care of your family, your friends, your neighbors, your community, everybody. Whosoever is associated with you, please take care of everyone. This life is a beautiful journey. It's all up to us how we lead our life, how we live our life, how we enjoy our life. And whatsoever you put in this small idiot box, this is the most important thing. That is, if this thinks positive, life looks positive. If you remain robust, your life looks robust. So, thereby, you've got to be taking into consideration 2020, we had a lot of challenges, a lot of difficulties, a lot of problems. People have gone through very rough weather. 2020 was really, really very challenging. 1.65 billion children, they were away from schools, colleges, universities, institutions, polytechnics, ITI, skill centers, training providers. Everybody was having a tough time, but well, in every difficulty, in every problem, there's a hidden opportunity. Let me share with you. India has moved 10 years ahead in education. That means, listen to me now very carefully. Whatsoever we were to achieve by 2030, by means of technology, flip learning, digital learning, blended learning, outside classroom learning, whatsoever you can think of, that all is to be taken. So, thereby, teachers were very creative, they were very dynamic, and they had no choice. So, there they started working in an innovative way. We have done almost 700 plus webinars now. And during pandemic, one thing which I have built is I have come across more than 10,000 speakers. And we got more than 100,000. That is the kind of a thing we have touched the base. And I'm very happy that some days we got 37, 38,000 people for 1 hour program. That is the kind of a way things are moving on. Well, it takes little time to put your ideas across. Today is a very important session. It's a very innovative session because the topic itself is innovation in education. जो हमारे भाई बहन हिंदी भाषा में हमारे साथ काम कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि मैं पूरी ग्लोबल फ्रेटर्निटी को साथ लेकर चल रहा हूं, लेकिन जो मेरे भाई बहन हिंदी में हैं, उनको शिक्षा में नवाचार, किस तरीके से शिक्षा में शिक्षा को प्रासंगिक कैसे बनाना है, दैट इज समथिंग वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट विच वी हैव टू एजुकेशन हैज टू बिकम रेलेवेंट. Education has to be relevant to my day-to-day living, my life, my happiness, my thought process, my positivity, my innovation, my creativity. जो कुछ भी आप कहना चाहते हैं, whatever you want to think. Okay. Now, somebody may say that Dr. Sharma, we are waiting to join you because one of the message has already come. So I just wish to share with all of you that this program is live with us at GS Motivator. You can join over there. You can enjoy the program, and this program is going live. And let me post over here so nobody feels bad in Bharat. I would write Hindi first, excuse me, Namaskar. And then I say welcome. So दोनों भाषाओं का इस्तेमाल हो गया. Everybody should be happy. Now you can log in and you can come. So ladies and gentlemen, on 4th of March, Thursday afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are, we extend you a very warm welcome. Today is 707. और उसको क्या बोलते हैं जेम्स बॉन्ड की मूवी में 707. That is something very nice. Great. And that is the innovation we are talking about. So we have got today very distinguished guest with us. We have got Dr. Shauli Mukherjee. She is the Director, School of Education and Dean Students Affairs, Adamast University. That's in Kolkata. That's in West Bengal. That's in India. You can see it on the map wherever you are. She is a distinguished speaker, distinguished guest of today. Now, education has got a lot of things to be taken care of. Policymakers are there, researchers are there, funding is required, development content is required, and then, of course, day to day functioning of schools and colleges when we talk about. Our chamber, International Chamber for Service Industry, which is deeply associated with 31 million non resident Indians world over, wherever they are. And we are proud of them because India got highest FDI, 83 billion US dollars. Can you imagine? 83 billion US dollars. That is the kind of a remittance India got it. Okay, great. Let's move on. We always believe the whole world is one family, and that's why we keep using a term called Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. The world is one family. All of us, we are brother and sisters of same God. We are children of same God. Right. What has happened 2020? Most of us, we would not like to remember because a lot of difficulties people have gone through, rigmaroles of the life. But during the pandemic and during thick of pandemic, right in the middle of the pandemic of the year 2020, on 29th of July, the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Education Minister of India, and the entire cabinet, they gave a note to the new education policy 2020 coming up in a big way, and which is going to be the game changer. Excuse me. So when we say game changer, how it's going to be game changer? Because when you're going to bring coding in the sixth standard, vocational skills, competencies, capabilities, outside classroom, 10 days bagless school. That means you visit corporate houses, you go and meet the people outside, see the corporate houses, factories, institutions, try and see what exactly is happening in day to day life. So education, innovation is very, very important. 2020, although it was a disruption, but I personally feel it was a positive disruption. Two of the two of the areas which were going at a very slow pace in our country and world over, particularly at least India, I can vouch for it, that was health sector and education sector. Now everything has become transparent. People keep talking about, the other day I was talking to Doha, Qatar, the principals over there. Each school has got more than 12 to 13,000 students. And we were talking about design thinking. We were talking about skills. We were talking about delivery models. So major innovations which have taken place so far, digital textbooks, social media, gamification, remote learning, artificial intelligence has come, virtual reality has come, and then M-learning has come, learning through smart boards have come, cloud-based technology has come, MOOCs have come. And when we talk about a couple of videos being used, now TEDx, everybody keeps talking about, but with YouTube, you have got now TEDx also, and you have got a separate videos available for the education. And then, of course, forest gardeners. Atmanirbhar Bharat, when we talk about, Honorable Prime Minister is very keen about it. India to become self-reliant, and India is thinking, India is growing, India is becoming self-reliant, but that is going to be possible through the good offices because the finance plays very, very important role. We are taking the pillar number 4 over here, reinvigorating the human capital. So when we talk about it, it's very important for us to understand what is the importance of human capital. And there comes, ladies and gentlemen, formal, informal, at home, in school, public places. Whenever we are dealing with anybody, education plays very important role over there. These are the takeaways from the new budget. Nowadays, we are deliberating about 100 new scenic schools. The other day, we talked about the Central University, which is coming in Leh and Ladakh. If you remember, we have developed the whole econometric model. With that, just one university coming up in Leh Ladakh, how it would change the entire ecosystem of the economy. Proud of my brother officers from the armed forces, Army, Navy, and Air Force. 1st of February was the budget, and 2nd of February we started this journey. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, every week we are having these officers with us, and they are sharing They are ex-associates of these scenic schools. Somebody was principal, somebody was vice principal, somebody was headmaster. They all were there. Our chamber strongly believes that the holistic education is incomplete without skills, and education and skills also together do not complete the ecosystem. It's not that you give a kind of a, you say, we have given quality education, and you send the child out without giving anything in their hand. You have to give that gorgeous torch and the baton. That means either they got to go for entrepreneurship or they got to go for employment. That is something very important. Our chamber, right from the beginning of, if you recall, 25th of March, so we have come up to 25th of February. You can well imagine all this time we have been collecting data from world over. 152 countries where we have got a direct presence overseas. The new golden triangle is not Delhi, Agra, Jaipur. The new golden triangle is basic food, basic health, and basic education. And B2B is no more business to business. It is back to basics of life. Our chamber has dedicated year 2021 for teachers and youth empowerment. Today, Dr. Shawly will talk about quite a bit of it, and she will be giving us some new pedagogy, andragogy, and a couple of other things we will talk about. We are very happy that in way back 1994, we brought the concept of service industry finishing school. And there we are talking about soft skills and life skills. Very, very important for all of us. We have taken it, we have brought it because we want people to pick up the best from there. So, schools, colleges, institutions, universities, incubation center, finishing lab, Atal Tinkering Lab. Now, finishing lab, we would be more than happy because it's our own baby. We got to just give you the modules and contents. Atal Tinkering Lab and incubation center, both are being supported by Niti Aayog. We are doing almost 12 hours beaming every day when we talk about. There are 28 webinars we have got per week. 3 o'clock immediately after this, you will have Dr. Tulika Mehta, my colleague, the founder director of the Kaizen. She's having a program nowadays, post-COVID, social media. How do you earn the money from different channels, different modes of social media? Then at 5 o'clock in the evening, you'll be meeting Colonel Subramaniam, and he's from the Army Education Corps. And he would be today talking about one of the schools, and that is basically Music Academy. And nowadays, as I told you, we are deliberating of 100 new scenic schools which have to come up. This week is very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why we have got Dr. Shawly Mukherjee also this afternoon, because this week is to give maximum respect, recognition, and whatsoever we can do the best, because women in our life, they play very, very important role. And in the entire global ecosystem, without women, you can't do anything. If you need your family happiness, personal happiness, school happiness, college happiness, university happiness, home happiness, working place happiness, wherever you talk about any walk of life, women play very important role. That's why 1st to 8th of March, because 8th of March is the D-Day when we will be holding a very big function. So International Women Week, we are celebrating 1st to 8th. On 1st of March, we had Amrita. She was all the way from Jodhpur, and we had Western India, and she brought a confluence of 12 ladies together on a common platform. It was a treat to listen to all of them. And thereafter, we had gone to Kavita. She took us all the way to Kerala, to Tamil Nadu, to Telangana, to Andhra Pradesh, to Karnataka. And thereafter, yesterday, we had Madam Divya Lal. What a scintillating modules. And she brought some very powerful women with her, and they all discussed with her a couple of areas. And thereafter, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to, we had come to, we tonight at 8 p.m., we have got a special program for eastern part of India. That is generally we call northeast part of India. There are 8 beautiful states to which the Honorable Prime Minister of India calls as Ashtalakshmi. So today you are going to have a very special program in the evening on Eastern India. Don't forget to join us. One program at 3 o'clock, then at 5 o'clock, and then at 8 o'clock. Okay, so depending on your convenience, but this program is dedicated. Then tomorrow, 5th of March, we will have Madam Chanchala, that is from Hyderabad, from Sri Sri School, and I'm proud of her. She's bringing more than 10,000 people on the platform tomorrow across India from different places, different states, wherever it is, they all are coming on the program tomorrow. And next day, on 6th of March, you will have college students, matured students, because school students are very tender, very small kiddies, and they will talk from school's point of view. And then we need, the college, university, where they will talk more from what exactly is happening, how it should move on, what could be the roadmap ahead. So Dr. Shali Mukherjee will chair the session, and on 6th of March, we will have 25 girls, women, whatever you want to call. They all will be with us on the platform. On 7th of March, this is something again very interesting session. There is a lady called Dr. Sunita Bhuiya based out of Mumbai. She plays violin and it's 100 years journey. You would say how? Her mother was violinist and her grandmother was violinist. And through violin, she teaches music for education. And then she talks about creativity in education through music. That is the title she has taken. And she will be with us for 1.5 hour performance. And then on Monday, that's a D Day. You will have lots of ladies joining us from NRI families from different countries, different places. And of course, all these session chairs, all the dignitaries, those are chairing this session for 7 days, they all will be also with us, along with some leading psychologists, psychiatrists, because post pandemic, how the things would be. This is the program tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to join us. You will enjoy the entire Northeast journey and you will travel mentally with your cerebrum. And Swapna Shum is coming. She's from Tripura, very dynamic woman. She would be having this program. So, ladies and gentlemen, whatsoever human mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Let's all of us we come together. Let's make education relevant. And it's a proud privilege that today we have got Dr. Shauli Mukherjee, Director, School of Education and Dean, Students Affairs, Aramus University. Join me in extending a very hearty welcome, a very warm welcome to this lady who has dedicated her journey for last 23 years to empower the education ecosystem. Dr. Shauli, hearty welcome to you. Pleasure to have you with us. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma, for that nice and warm introduction. I am indeed, privileged and honored to be on the platform today of International Chamber of Service Industry. I'm eagerly looking forward to an invigorating discussion today on
Right.
education.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Before we get into the subject matter, I would request you kindly give us the 23 years profile of yours, what all you have enjoyed, where all you have been, what all you have been doing, how you chose about getting into education. Because I still recall when I saw you when you were doing your graduation, you are such a beautiful classical dancer. How you got into the education fraternity ecosystem. Tell us something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it has been 23 years for me now that I am in the education sector. And I am in the education sector out of sheer passion because I always wanted to be in the education sector and do something about it. So I have been the principal of three international schools of repute in Kolkata, West Bengal. And out of that, two schools had been exclusively founded by me as the founder principal. One among them happens to be the first STEM school in West Bengal, which was eventually awarded for being the second best international day school in the entire West Bengal region. So, the last 23 years had been exclusively into school education, development of school leadership, empowering teachers, teacher training, and teacher empowerment. Very recently, I have stepped into the domain of higher education, where currently I am the Director of School of Education and Dean Student Affairs at one of the premier universities of Eastern India. Additionally, I am also the Executive Director Curriculum for Charles Walters Society for Innovation and Research. I do represent the Global Edu Leaders Forum as the National Executive Member from the Eastern region, the Brand Ambassador and State Educational Advisor for Wednesday Times, a National Advisor of Sports Academy Association of India, one of the honorary patrons of India Power Talk, chairperson of the Education Board of Hope Ambassadors and Childcare Organization, advisory board member of Indo-Canada Education Council, advisory board member of the Talk Room. I'm also the ambassador and academic advisor of Women Reform Organization and chief of Institute Northeast of Indian Golf Circuit. Additionally, I am associated with premier educational organizations both across India and globally in senior advisory capacities. And as a motivational speaker, I almost regularly speak on different national and international forums on topics related to education and allied issues.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. How did you choose education, ma'am? You were so good at dancing, you were so good at music part and all that. How did you decide? How did you decide that you should get into the education ecosystem?
So it was not a kind of a decision which came to me much later in my life. It was something which I always wanted to do. And even when I was in school, I always thought that we should do something which would bring a visible and tangible difference in the way people, around us, they live and they think about a lot of things. So I always had that burning desire of creating that impact in the field of education, which would bring a visible and tangible difference in the way people live. So it was a very, very conscious decision. So I would also like to mention, uh, the Japanese concept of ikigai, which is so very close to my heart, which, if we translate it into English, it means the purpose for our being. So ikigai is actually the at the intersection point between between something that you love doing and something you are good at. So for me, it has been a very conscious intersection between what I was passionate about doing and what I was good at doing. So it became, very smooth and effortless on my part to decide that I would be making my passion as my profession. So here I am working for the last 23 years and, with a lot of, enthusiasm and energy, I would like to continue my journey in the same manner.
Wow, that's great. That's great. That's something very interesting. Okay, let's get on to the education now and we get into the hardcore education scenario. How do you evaluate and how do you look at the current scenario of the ongoing education ecosystem? And should you wish, you can take it India. Should you wish, you can take global perspective. It's all up to you, the way you would like to build the narrative. Our basic aim is to understand the current scenario, and thereafter then we will build the blocks, we will put some more bricks, and we will build the house beautiful.
Absolutely. So, if I have to tell you about my views about the current educational system, I would like to start off with two very interesting statistics. So, if we think that the main aim of education is to ensure at least a decent living for all individuals. So let me quote two statistics. Uh, More than 50% of the graduates, they do not land up in getting a job after they complete the formal higher education. And employers would confirm that more than 80% of the graduates who actually manage to get the jobs, they do not have that requisite skills to retain that job. And they have to be reskilled and reoriented on job. So I think it is absolutely clear that if the aim of the educational system is to ensure decent living, then already our current educational system is miserably failing. So there can be various reasons for that, and I would like to term them as the fallacies which are embedded in our current educational system. If we consider the widening gap between industry and academia, between academia and industry expectations, readiness, and standards, we see that academia is failing to prepare the young learners to meet the industry expectations. And as a result, the system is increasingly churning out more job seekers rather than job creators. Then, if you consider the system of standardized testing, which is prevalent across all levels of education, so all kinds of standardization, or you know, in explicit terms, standardized testings, which are so very much an important and integral part of our education system right now, right from the kindergarten down to the higher education domain. So the standardized testing relies heavily on conformity and compliance, and it gives very little weightage to creativity and innovation. Now we talk about the increasing need of creativity, but we have to remember what we are actually doing. We know that each and every child is inherently creative. It's born creative. As Pablo Picasso had rightly said, that every child is a born artist, but the challenge is to remain an artist when you grow up. Okay, so we in our educational system, the current educational system always uh, rewards the child if the child is able to draw and colored within the lines. Don't you think it's the greatest irony that we expect the same child when he grows up to become an out of the box thinker? I mean, how is it possible, right? And, also, real education. Real education will never, ever promote a kind of a belief that there is only one correct answer to a question and there is only one solution to a problem. In spite of that, our education system rewards the students when they all can arrive at a consensus of one particular correct answer. And there is not a single exercise in our system to reward and encourage the students when they're able to come up with one correct question. Right?
I totally agree.
Yes. And, moreover, if we speak about the quotients, our system gives so much importance and emphasis and weightage on intelligence quotient, right? The research has significantly proved that it is emotional intelligence, it is emotional quotient, which is responsible for as much as 80% of our success in our lives. How you manage your emotions, how you express your emotions, that depends on that your success, whether it be in your professional life or in your personal life. So that depends on your emotional intelligence and emotional quotient.
We have to move. We have to move from IQ to EQ.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, I would like to state that right from the childhood, be it the educators or the parents, we tend to give a heightened sense of importance to the spirit of competition. You always have to come first in everything, be it in academics or in extracurricular activities or co-curricular activities. You got to be the first, right? So you need to compete. So we sort of ingrain that competitive spirit in our children right from the very childhood.
Wrong way. Wrong
Yes,
way.
yes. Though collaboration and cooperation happens to be the two most significant skill sets that are required to thrive in the 21st century. So we tend to give so much importance on competition, but what we actually require is collaboration and cooperation. So, based on all this, what I personally feel that is that we don't require those small tweaks or changes or fixes. You know, reformation will not work. Nothing short of revolution will work for the educational system. So we need to, completely rethink, reimagine, and reinvent by completely disrupting the traditional system of education, which seems to not serve any purpose for the 21st century learners. So nothing short of revolution will work
Okay.
for in terms of
Yeah.
education.
Now, something very interesting emerges over here from your views. You have worked with the school also, and now you're in the higher education also. And very pleasure. I mean, it's a deep pleasure to hear that one of the institution got STEM reward also. That is sheer a hard work, passion, dedication, devotion, creativity, innovation. You must have done something out of the box. Okay. So now coming on, when you talk about school education and when you talk about our entire education ecosystem, children, we often say that children, those are less than 10 years of age, these are formative years, these are initial mind building, thought building, creativity building, innovative building, whatever has to be done. And everybody tells that first 10 years, whatsoever child forms, thereafter there is an improvement only, but maximum development and maximum a kind of a bent of mind or a thought process develops up to the age of 10. Don't you think that the teacher, those are handling small kindergarten up to 10 years of age, should be highest paid in education?
Absolutely, yes. I completely second the opinion. And I would also like to add here another significant perspective. So, definitely till the age of 10 years and the formative years are very, very important and crucial for a child because that is the kind of a thing that he will be carrying on forward into his life. So, research has proved that till the age of 7, a child's brain is in the theta brainwave stage, which means that this is that kind of a stage which we consciously try to acquire when we want to do meditation. So when we want to do meditation, this is the state that we want to achieve and acquire. And the children are actually automatically and naturally in that particular stage till the age of 7. So that is definitely a great news, but at the same time, that comes with a kind of a caution because be it the teachers or the well-meaning teachers and the well-meaning educators, they have to be very, very conscious about what they are saying to the child during that stage, because anything and everything that you seem to convey to the child during that particular stage seems to be subconsciously downloaded in the child's system, and this is something which a child is not able to forget, even if it is subconscious. So that sort of determines the way the child views life and the different aspects of life, including the life's challenges. So we have to be very, very conscious during this particular time, and we all know that during the first 6 years 90% of the brain develops. So, considering these views and the findings from the research, we have to, the educators and the parents both have to be extremely cautious about ways of handling, children. So, that is very, very important.
Thank you. Now, let's move a little ahead because nothing can be done in isolation. Every country has got their own challenges in education. The new education policy 2020, we will come little later, but before that, let's talk and let's spend little more time onto the present scenario. And we also carry out some comparative analysis. Seeing the size of our population, seeing the size of our population, where everybody is aspirant to move to the next level of development. Education has to play a very critical role, important role, innovative role, pragmatic role, futuristic role, whatever you want to call it, as far as our education ecosystem is concerned. Now, over here comes a challenge. The person who is imparting knowledge, the person who is giving academics, content, subjects, and whatever, do you feel that there's some compromise we have done on the teachers? Those have come in education ecosystem.
I would like to say that, whatever the situation is at present, there is an increasing need for changing the role of teachers and the teacher. It's high time the teachers should also understand, teachers and the educational leaders, school leaders, higher education leaders, leaders as well as the teachers. Those who are actually creating, those who are actually responsible for creating that magic and miracle in day-to-day classroom, those who are the real influencers and the enablers who would be driving this positive change, it is high time for them to realize that their roles have shifted.
Okay. How do you look at when we carry out little comparison? Because there are small countries, our population is huge, our challenges are also huge. Nobody was expecting that India would be in a position to control their pandemic this way, the way we have done, complete lockdown. And now this will also become one of the case study in Howard, Stanford, Wharton. People will come to India. They would say, let us see on ground what exactly they have done. How could they how could they overcome, and they could take this entire wave in such a systematic, pragmatic, and professional way. Now, we always quote whenever we look at education, we say, look at Finland, look at Singapore, look at South Korea, look at Germany. Now, look at their population. Why do we see only education? Look at their population. Secondly, we say that children and basically parents or the system doesn't give that respect to teacher, that status to teacher, what they used to enjoy earlier. So nobody wants to come to this profession willingly or wholeheartedly. Majority of them, they say, okay, if I could not make it here, let me try second. If I could make it here, let me try third. If I don't succeed anywhere, let me become teacher. So how do you look at that scenario?
Very true, very true, and this is a very disturbing scenario, no doubt about that, because teaching is one such professions which leads to the creation of the other professions. No matter whatever the situation may be, it is still, and will always be considered as a noble profession. No doubt about that. Having said so, when I was actually, telling you about the need for the changes and the need for the shifts in the way the teachers themselves look at their particular profession. So, what I believe is that people, those who are really passionate, people, those who are really desirous of bringing that impact, in the way in which the young people think and the young people would lead their lives, they are the ones who should only come to the teaching profession. And there is nothing called overnight success in the teaching profession. It is not visible overnight. It can never be. There can be other professions for that. They can, try out the other professions, but definitely not teaching profession. Because if you're coming in this particular profession, it is a full-time commitment. And nobody is going to tell you that you have to do this. You will be doing it because you want to make a difference. You want to create that impact. Now, it is also high time that teachers should also realize that teaching is not a mechanical task of content and knowledge transfer. It is, in fact, a very, very creative and sophisticated profession. And definitely 21st century teachers, they have a very important role in provoking, engaging, stimulating, and facilitating that love for lifelong learning, first among themselves and then definitely among the students. So, as teachers, you first have to be a lifelong learner. You have to be a self motivated learner. you have to be committed to the path of unlearning and relearning and then learning all over again. So if you're not ready to do that, you please do not expect that from your young learners, because the learners will not listen to what you say, they will follow your example, right? So you are the role models. So teachers have to have that spirit of continuous learning. They have to have that spirit of motivation to continue, rescaling themselves, upscaling themselves. And this is something which has happened in the last 10 or 11 months. We have seen that the teachers have reskilled and upskilled themselves, right? So this is something which needs to continue. And also, I would like to say about, the very important facet of collaboration. We always tend to say that, 21st century, one of the 21st century skills happen to be collaboration, and the students need to collaborate. But what about the teachers, right? So I think also during the pandemic, they have learned a very important lesson that they cannot operate in silos anymore. And
Yes.
as it is said, that as a teacher, the greatest resource that you can have is each other. And without collaboration, your growth is limited to your own perspective, right? So you need to collaborate. You need to exchange your views, insights, learnings in order to become enriched as a teacher, as a person. So collaboration is equally important. Next, I would also like to say that teachers also have to be very, very curious and inquisitive about everything that is happening around them. They have to be very conscious about the changes that are happening. They have to be curious, inquisitive, and at the same time, they have to be very, very adaptable and flexible to all the changes that are happening around us. So I sort of believe that a striking combination of a beginner's mindset and a challenging spirit. That is exactly what is required to make a 21st century teacher. So, when I say a beginner's mindset, what I mean is that you have to be responsive to the new ways of learning. You have to be flexible, adaptable. And at the same time, you've got to have the challenging spirit, that questioning spirit, to challenge the status quo, to challenge everything that has become redundant, obsolete, seems not to work. You have to have that challenging spirit. So, beginner's mindset as well as a challenging spirit. That would make the perfect 21st century teacher.
Okay. Now, as thank you very much, very valuable inputs which you have given. As you are heading education division, department, area, uh, okay, if I take an example, your own children, your own students, those are doing at present B.Ed or M.Ed, whatever programs they are doing, what is one quality which will be the USP of your institution, which you would like to build in them, which nobody else is offering?
Especially if I have to come to the B.Ed curriculum.
Hmm.
It has, for so many years, it has become a theoretical component. You need to learn, you need to sit for the exam, a lot of rote learning, right? So that is not how you prepare the would-be teachers. That is not how you prepare the 21st century teachers. For 21st century teachers, you need to have that hands-on component. They have to be always doing things and being involved in that activity-oriented education. That is exactly what is required. And in my institute, I am currently the director of School of Education at Adamas University in West Bengal. So the B.Ed program, which is running in this particular university, and I do have students who are doing their PhDs in education. So a lot of hands-on activities, a lot of practical components are integrated in their curriculum, and that is that. If you have to call that USP, I will, okay, definitely that can be the USP, because I believe that that is the requirement, for that is a minimum requirement in order to nurture the mindset of the would-be teachers, because when they come to us, no doubt about that, they come with a lot of fresh ideas, they come with a vibrant mindset, they come with that, willingness to create that impact. They have that passion. So we have to channelize that properly, and we have to give them a lot of, case studies, hands-on experimentations, that ability and that flexibility to experiment with new ideas. No problem if they come across any failure, because we have to stop stigmatizing mistakes and failures, which is a very, again, a very, problematic domain in the current education system. We seem to stigmatize mistakes, but we forget that if you're not committing mistakes, if you're not encountering failures in your life, how can you even move ahead? Because they are very, very important lessons, right? So you need to fail multiple times, you need to commit a lot of mistakes. And then you need to come to a conclusion that, yes, this is exactly what I want, and this is how things should be.
Okay, so your B.Ed program, which you've got more boys or more girls?
Uh, we have got boys and girls both, but yeah, in terms of statistics, girls are more.
Girls are more. Okay. So that particular term also gets solved over here, that female character, girls, women, they can handle children better. They understand emotional intelligence much better. Their mother also, their friend also, their wife also, their sister also, their daughter also, and their teacher also, their counselor also, and their director also, like you. So all that when you take into system, uh, do you think somewhere that our research is not at par with the desirable standards somewhere throughout across India? Research somewhere is lacking. It's more theoretical. It's more just a cut and paste, picking up from here, there, and just match it and just put it over there. And you just give the authority that I this picked up from here, this I picked up from here. Because how innovation will come unless the research doesn't become stronger? What are your views and your take on that?
Before I answer this question, I
Yeah.
would just like to, add
Huh.
one of my perspectives to something that shared just immediately before this. So, Dr. Sharma, I actually do not believe that, emotional intelligence is gender specific, because I have seen men being excellent nurturers and being excellent parents
So
and mothering.
all men, those are watching this program, this is coming from the woman. Please note it. Okay, please go ahead.
So I have seen men mothering children, excessively well, sometimes even better than women. So I do not want to draw a comparison on this angle. And I would like to say that there are certain things like emotional intelligence, the ability to nurture, or definitely something that is required for the would-be teachers that cannot be gender specific. It completely depends on your willingness and your passion and definitely your attitude. So that is one thing.
Okay.
Coming to the research dimension, I completely second your opinion that it has, absolutely become a system of cutting, copying, and pasting, where there is absolutely no creativity, no originality. It's only a race, it's only a competition to get that prestigious PhD degree. So what is actually happening is that the real cause or the joy or the happiness that should be there in the field of education, that is getting lost. Because you can never be happy, you can never be joyful if you cannot bring your originality into what you are doing. So it's always your creativity. It's always your creativity, your sense of innovation, your sense of ideas, your sense of originality. If you can bring them into your work, be it research, academics, teaching, any profession, at that point of time, you seem to become happy. So the joy, the element of happiness, the element of fulfillment seems to be completely, not there.
Okay. Thank you. So now, should we move on to the new education policy which has been announced by the government 2020 on 29th of July, right in the middle of pandemic? Now, over there, the B.Ed program has been made for 4 years. Do you feel it will make some changes? It will bring some changes?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It will definitely bring positive changes, I would say.
Okay.
Because when it is speaking about integrated B.Ed course of 4 years, so definitely you cannot dissociate it with your, so-called in isolation graduation program. So graduation program to be done in isolation, and then you are doing your B.Ed program. That is something which has happened for so long. So when it is an integrated, B.Ed, so it means that you're doing your graduation and you're doing your bachelor's of education at the same time. So that would definitely also lead to a kind of a perspective to view that education as a whole cannot be seen in isolation, right?
Okay.
And teacher education is something which is so very, so very an integral part of what you are when you are graduating. So that is so very integral part. So even national education policy also talks about the fact that the PhD scholars, they must do a compulsory course on teacher education. So that is also so very relevant.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. That's wonderful. Now let's move on to what challenges do you feel or what difficulties do you feel with the implementation of the new education policy 2020 which has come?
One is, Dr. Sharma, definitely the population, I would
Ah,
say.
hmm.
And secondly, I would like to say that for any kind of implementation, what is utmost required is changing the mindset of the people. So I seem to think that the mindset of the people, those who are there in the educational fraternity, they can be educators, they can be teachers, they can be school leaders, higher education leaders, policymakers, whoever that might be. So I think, changing the mindset is something
What do you
which is
expect? What do you expect? What change should be done? How we say that changing the mindset? Could you be kind enough to elaborate a little bit more, if you could kindly?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, a kind of a system where creativity is not compromised on a day-to-day basis. That is one aspect.
Hmm.
And secondly, the industrial factory model of productivity and that one size fits all syndrome that is very much there in the educational system, that must go away and make space for a more personalized, more creative, more innovative, and a more engaging form of education. So if you see, till now, even in the current educational system, it seems to be, so-called so very progressive. But even in progressive schools, I have walked into this, I have walked into the classrooms and have found, and I just want to give you just a little example of the seating arrangements that are there in the classrooms. Students are still sitting in rows and columns. They're sitting in isolation. So we must remember that this particular concept has actually come from the prison model. The convicts were put in different cells. Why? So that they cannot communicate with each other and there will be less chaos. So it would be a smooth administration. So this has come from the prison model. We are still administering the same thing in our so-called progressive schools where we are making our children sit all separately in rows and columns. There is no group sitting arrangement because we also believe, right, that there will be less chaos, less problem. The teacher will have less problems to tackle in terms of classroom management if the students are, separated and they are sitting in isolation. But they need all to come together. They need to sit in a group. They need to discuss. They need to interact. They need to share their views, and they need to collaborate in order to thrive in a 21st century, ecosystem. So that's just one example. There can be various such examples to show that even in the so-called progressive institutions, what we are doing in the name of, advancement is actually not advancing.
Okay. Let's take it that we finished the first part where I talk about and I look at the whole scenario. Artificial intelligence is coming in a very big way. Technology is coming in a very big way. Augmented reality, blockchain, blended learning, and all that, whatsoever we talk about, technology is going to play very, very important role in all aspects of our life, irrespective agriculture, manufacturing or services, education, day-to-day life, health sector, whatsoever areas of the economy we can talk about, and jobs are going to shrink. Countries which have got a huge population, our challenges are going to be very huge. What is to be done? What do you suggest over there? This kind of formal education, what we are having today, do you think that it will hold any relevance?
It will definitely not hold any relevance. And I would also like to say that it is not about, see, if we just draw a comparison between, the kind of an educational structure which our parents had or even we had when we had been children, and the kind of an educational structure that we have right now, and the changing dynamics. We see that during our parents' time, when they have completed their formal higher education, they were slotted for a 30 years of a confirmed and comfortable profession. So it was sort of a kind of that the education, the formal education which they have completed, they gave a kind of a guarantee that now you're slotted for a 30 years of peaceful profession wherever you go for. Right now, we see that even in when the students are enrolling for their graduation in their first year, and when they will be completing in, say, about 3 to 4 years' time. So during that time only, whatever they are learning, even in their first years, it's becoming redundant and obsolete, right? So this is the situation right now. So considering this kind of a shift and this kind of a disruption and this kind of a change, don't you think that formal education will absolutely the kind of education that we seem to be delivering right now, uh, under the tag of so-called progressive and modern day education, that needs to change? Absolutely, that needs to change. Otherwise, it's not going to serve the purpose of our children at all.
So, while challenging the present system, what do you suggest?
I would definitely suggest a complete, change of mindset, to embrace whatever changes are coming, whatever changes are happening, not to resist, but to consider them as, good and better changes to which we have to be, flexible and acquainted with. So we have to move along with the changes that are happening. And yeah, definitely. Also, I would like to say that since you have raised the issue of technology, so vast advancements in technology, there is absolutely no way in which we can resist that particular, advancement or change. Because if we do that, we are only the losers, right? But having said so, no matter however technology will advance in days to come, or is it happening right now, there will be no substitute for a teacher with that emotional, with personal connect. So that will always remain. So I sort of, conceptualize a kind of a combination of extreme technological advancement. I'm totally in favor of that. And at the same time, maintaining that emotional and maintaining that personal and social connect. That is also very, very important.
Okay,
Technology is supposed to help us.
okay.
Technology is supposed to make, it's supposed to be the enabler. It is
Facilitator.
not, it is supposed to be the enabler and the facilitator. It's not supposed to dictate how and what we do. That is
Okay,
not how things should be.
great, great. In spite of development, GDP, whatsoever we talk about, so much of development has taken place. Still, after so much of awareness, economic prosperity, development, and when you look at the youth, quite a few of them, they look depressed. They have anxiety, they have stress, they have pressures. And At the same time, challenges, they don't want to work hard because technology is going to further make them dull. You will tell your son, I require this thing, can you get me? He will say, Mom, don't disturb me. You need this stuff, it will be given to you. He'll press the button, Amazon will deliver or Zomato will deliver at your residence. He would say, you wanted this stuff, you've got it. Why do you want to shake me and say that go to market, take a scooter, take a bicycle? I want that you should do some physical exercise and all that. How the world is heading and where it is heading. And particularly, one side we have a challenge now. This is something very important I want to share with you. In the new education policy, we plan to increase. Now, all my viewers, those are watching this program, this question is the most debatable, and this question which I'm sharing with her is it requires a deeper thought. Let's take an example. There are X number of students, those are moving from school education to higher education as on date. The government of India, under the new education policy, is working in the direction to increase the cross enrollment ratio to minimum 50%. So are the efforts are to push more children into the colleges and university, or efforts are, I like we are talking about new education policy 2020, where it has got a direct link with the skill ministry and it has got a direct link with the startup ministry, the micro, small and medium enterprise. And for that matter, even your student, those are doing B.Ed, M.Ed, whatever program they are doing, where is the matchmaking? Where is that? Okay, fine. These are 25 students. These are doing, these 25 will be going here, 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 here. And these are the corporate houses. And corporate people, they always keep complaining. Children coming to us are not skilled. They are not empowered. They have not picked up, all the time complaining. Are, if you're complaining, why don't you come to school and college and institution and take on some of the classes? Because the new education policy says it's a partnership. It's a public-private partnership. It's a corporate partnership. It's an intellectual partnership. It's a community partnership. Why not? They should come forward in that. What's your take on it?
Absolutely, absolutely, they should. And I think that, both academia and industry, both, they have to make an effort to bridge this widening gap. This is an ever widening gap. There is no doubt about that. So academia will always complain that industry feels that, the way we have prepared our learners, the learners are not fit. And industry will always complain that academia has not been able to prepare the students to meet our standards or our expectations or industry readiness. So this is a kind of a controversy, ever growing controversy and ever widening gap. So in order to, I don't only think that it is only the responsibility for the industry to come forward. It is also the responsibility of both the sectors to come forward and jointly, deliberate on these issues for the betterment of our present generation.
Okay, okay. And finally, what would you like to tell to the young boys and girls, those want to become teacher in the new education ecosystem? Because post-pandemic, the education has become totally transparent. Gone are the days when it was a teaching centric. Because the other day I was having a program from Australia, from Sydney, and it was mind blowing. That person also specializes in education ecosystem. And he told, from teaching centric, we moved to learning centric. COVID, we started making a statement, oh, teachers will be facilitators now. They're going to facilitate education. He says, my first question is, what would they facilitate? How they would facilitate? Because students are more taco savvy than the teacher. Okay. So then he has come the next statement. He told the next stage is going to be co-learners. Teacher and student, they'll be co-learners. They'll be learning and picking up everything simultaneously together. Teacher will also be learning in that particular process. And that's why in the new education policy, maximum emphasis has been given on teachers training. And including, they have told that the principals will also go for X number of hours of particular training in a year. And they will, because accountability brings, rather responsibility brings accountability, but accountability brings, outcome. Today the scenario is I am not getting the correct daylight right in front of me. Here is the education policy. Here we are talking about skills. Hey, what skills are we talking about? By the time these children will pass out, these skills will also become obsolete and obsolescent. Okay, fine. What, because one of the study which I have just gone through last week, that the 3 years computer engineering, what we are doing today, by the time the child will complete the computer engineering, the engineering syllabi will be obsolete. Technology is moving so fast and so quick. Then somebody says soft skills will become more important than hard skill. I said, okay, fine. In soft skills, they say we have met Dr. Mukherjee because communication skill is going to be the most important skill. I said, okay, that is also acceptable. That's fine. If you have already spoken to Dr. Shauli Mukherjee, it's fine. We will take communication skill because most of the hard skill, these website developer and IT software developers, they can develop these software, but they cannot talk, they cannot do market, they cannot communicate, they cannot sell. So they require altogether a different stream and people. Those have to do that. So that is another challenge. Where is the match between and the way? Because now the most important thing is speed, because so much is coming in mind when I'm sharing with you. What all information do I share with you and how much do I share? 1.6 billion, $1.6 billion US equivalent is the loan students have taken from the government institutions, banks. I'm not talking about the private sector all. So universities are keen, irrespective what is happening now, open up the whole economy, open up the entire system. But certain places challenges are there. In Punjab, in Chandigarh, couple of other places I'm talking about, cases are increasing once again. They have imposed night curfew. They have increased, they have told the deputy commissioners of the respective districts some special precautions to be taken on that. Nobody knows how the future would be. Nobody knows how the scenario would be. So there, and 30 million parents have already decided they are shifting their children from schools to the homeschooling. 11 million girls will never see back the institution. Either they will have forced marriage or they have to do some manual labor to support the family because their circumstances are such. These are the stats which are coming today. So thereby, I wish to understand from you, how do we take this entire ecosystem into consideration?
Yes, see, your first question happened to be that, how the teachers would, considering so many changes and considering so many disruptions happening. So, what should be their role in nurturing the 21st century learners? That happens to be one of your questions. So, I would like to answer that first. What I believe is that along with, education, formal, informal, whatever. So I did, mention about the quotients earlier in today's conversation. I would just like to add on to that by saying that it's not only about intelligence, the growing, debate between IQ and EQ, and that EQ is more relevant, it should be given more emphasis. Definitely so. But along with that, I would also like to add few other quotients which are equally, if not more important. And that is, what about the creative quotient, the CQ? Creativity of a person. That is the originality of a person, which lends some kind of value in whatever the person does. Originality plus value. That is what creativity is all about. So, what about nurturing the creative quotient? in the learners. What about PQ, passion quotient? Passion, your passion is very, very important, right? So if you're not passionate about doing a particular thing, you will land up in being maybe a dull architect or a very sad engineer, right? So you will not be enjoying what you're doing. So your passion is very, very important. So passion quotient, happiness quotient, extremely important. Social quotient, you know, considering whatever the situation may be, the pandemic has amply proved the point that we need to interact, we need to socialize with people. We cannot take our family, our relatives, our friends for granted. We have to interact with them in order to, create a fulfilling life for ourselves. Because that is something which is our basic human need, to bond, to connect, and to socialize. So, what about developing that SQ, that social quotient? Definitely in the context of the present times, which are, the times, characterized by intense, instant gratification and, massive distraction, right, in terms of technology. So technology also gives that we are very, very distracted. We cannot concentrate. We cannot focus our attention onto something. What about developing our spiritual quotient? That is to try and evolve into the very best, the very highest, and the very truest version of ourselves. So, education should encompass all these quotients. So, currently, it's only IQ, IQ, IQ. So, it has to be a combination and culmination of EQ, PQ, HQ, SQ, and CQ.
Okay. The last one, which you made a mention of, the spiritual quotient. When I discussed with certain people in Canada, in America, in Europe, and I was telling them now the new education policy is coming in India. 100 best institutions will come to India. New universities, new colleges, new setups will come in India because Indian government is inviting them to come and open their setups over here. So I told them, it's okay. From some countries, we are getting students already. They're coming to India and they're studying like it used to happen in Nalanda, Takshila, other places and all. But if we want to get students from Canada, from USA, from Europe, what is to be done? And there, surely, they made a mention that unless India doesn't focus on spiritual quotient, because they say the USP of India is you should focus on this area. So do you think it should be a part of the B.Ed syllabi?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. It should be
There
every,
are no second thoughts to it.
okay. So every teacher, yoga, meditation, naturopathy, nutrition, meditation, spirituality, and getting a
Mindfulness.
mindfulness. Okay. You would like to use a word mindfulness.
Extremely important in the
Mm,
present day
yeah.
context.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the difference between government school and convent school. I studied in government school and she studied in convent school. So that's the difference. And thereafter, she summed up in one word, and I had to take so many words to reach to mindfulness. Okay, great. That's lovely. That's really nice. So, what message would you like to give to the youth of today? Those want to become teacher. I'll get back to that question again.
Absolutely. So, my first and foremost message or advice, whatever you term it as, is that you need to have, please introspect and find out whether you have that passion and whether you have that commitment to continue in this particular profession. Because it is not going to be a bed of roses, especially in the present context. So it's going to be a lot of hard work, requires a lot of determination and a lot of sincerity, a lot of putting efforts and patience on a day-to-day basis. So if you do not have that, passion, and if you do not have that commitment to continue, please do not come into this particular profession.
Great.
Having said so, I would also like to add that uh, that burning desire to create an impact and to create that visible and tangible difference in the way people are living their lives, if you have that, you're most welcome to come in this particular profession and to create a massive difference.
Wonderful. This is for those children, those are at present undergoing various programs and they aspire to become teacher or they have yet to choose a career they have to get into. Now let me come to second slot. Those are already teachers. They say, we have lost the battle, we have lost the glory, we have lost the status, our salary is also not good, our working hours, couple of other things, all that into, and we are not enjoying that status which teachers used to enjoy it in Gurukul time. And that was, I'm talking about Nalanda, Takshila, Guru, Shishya, Parampara, and everything taken into consideration. How do we get that back?
See, I think that it's not only about teachers, but it's only, a lot of people have to come forward. The policymakers,
Huh.
the educators,
Hmm.
and at the same time, when we are talking about the teachers, the existing teachers and their challenges that they're facing on a day-to-day basis, in terms of if even if I keep aside the financial consideration that we are not getting amply paid for what we are doing, we are putting a lot of effort, but we are not getting paid. Even if I keep that aside, and if I just consider something which is very, very intrinsic, you know, in order to continue in this profession, then that is a sense of love and respect that you should, get back. Because this is something which keeps you moving on a day-to-day basis. Even I feel that, in the current scenario, the parents also, we always blame the students that they are not showing respect. What about the way they have been brought up? What about their upbringing? So I believe that the parents have a very, very important role in instilling that sense of respect and that sense of, that sense of love and respect for the educators who are doing so much for them. So the parents
Okay.
also have a very, very important role, I think.
Now, that was my last question I was going to come to. That during the pandemic, one more segment has got added up, and that is parents.
Yes,
They have realized and they have come to know it is not easy to bring up your kids. It's not that you deposit them early in the morning at 8 o'clock and from the ATM you withdraw at 5 o'clock, from the crutches in the evening. During this lockdown, they have realized. So, what mindset has to be changed? I will go back to your original, thought and the question where parents, you got to score so much of marks, you got to get this percentage, you have to. Now, what do you suggest post COVID? How parents are going to play a productive, innovative, constructive, supportive role in the education ecosystem?
parents have always been a very, very important part of the educational process. It is something different that they have not been that much involved earlier. During the pandemic times, they have realized the importance of their own involvement in this entire process. So we have definitely seen a lot of positives. So I would say thanks to COVID times that there are a lot of positives which have emerged. And if you ask about the parents' mentality and the parents' involvement and engagement, I have seen a lot of active engagement, support, and involvement coming from the parents' side during the pandemic. Second being a lot of sense of respect which have come for the teachers and the excessive hard work and the miraculous impact that they are creating on a day-to-day basis. So even the parents have also realized that, as rightly said by you, that definitely teaching is not something which is so very easy, and it cannot be relegated to the corner by saying, okay, anybody can do it, right? So because when they were not able to do it in the last 10 months, the teachers have been doing it for the last 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So they have realized that. So I think with this positive appreciation, mutual appreciation, mutual support, and cooperation, I see a lot of positives coming up.
Great. Great. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That is Shauli Mukherjee, Dr. Shauli Mukherjee from Kolkata, and such a wonderful deliberation. We touched almost all the points. We came to present status. We have built up the future scenario. what exactly has to be done by children, what is to be done by parents, what is to be done by teachers, those are already in this particular profession. And she used a term in between, become a lifelong learner. Keep picking up new things, keep picking up new things. If I am also learning at this point of time, I don't want to accept it in public that I learned so much from her today. So the thing is, I want to share with all of you. We learn from each other and we pick up the best. It's up to you. It's your mindset. If you keep it blocked, then nobody can help you. But if you open up, and then you can pick up, your antenna should be on all the time. What can we learn from others? What can we pick up from deliberations and all? This is one of the most innovative talk what we have taken. We will put into the small segments and small parts, and depending on which segment requires which, we will edit it, we will send it across. However, the entire conversation of today, just for 1 hour and 50 minutes, is going to be available to its 150. So we started at 12:30. So
Yes,
12:30, so it's 1 hour 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
So 1 hour 20 minutes, that means 80 minutes deliberation. So this is available on the YouTube and it has gone live. There is no editing, ki sound, light, no cut, retake, no retake. It's only one take because we are talking about somebody's life. We are talking about somebody's future, somebody's career, somebody's skills, somebody's education. And that's why she gave 23 years. And you know, she left dancing. She was such a beautiful dancer and she was doing graduation. And that is the time she gave up. She said, no, no, not dancing. I'm passionate about education. And today, being a director, looking after this particular program from the prestigious university, we are proud of her. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful deliberation with you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much to have you. Thank you.
Most welcome, Dr. Sharma. It was, in fact, a mutual learning for me. And in fact, I also learned a lot from
No,
your, by mutually discussing about such a pertinent issue. And it had been a real pleasure for me.
thank you. Ma'am, you come from West Bengal. People are in West Bengal very good at dance, music, singing, and all that. Would you like to give a small sing song to the public, to the people? Would you like to give something?
I can recommend a lot of songs, but definitely being a bathroom singer,
Okay.
I not take that liberty of,
Okay.
exposing my bathroom singing ability
Okay.
here.
Let us see, ladies and gentlemen. She had been very kind to give us so much valuable inputs today. That's on the lighter side because remain happy, be happy wherever you are. Try and put in your best, put your front foot forward in such a way that you enjoy your walk. And walk the talk is very important. And it's very important, very important. One of my most favorite mentor and motivational speaker, Les Brown, says, when you walk with someone, whether mentally or physically, that time you just try and understand what is the pace of that person and with whom are you walking and whose pace are you following or are you walking beside. So thereby keep learning, keep picking up whatever best you can take, because these deliberations are something like a gold mine we all have to pick up. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.